Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, depending on where you are in this world. God bless you. This is Gloria White coming to you from Utah, USA. We're going to continue. I'm going to continue recording the final chapters of Ezekiel 40, Ezekiel um, 41 and 42, 43, 44, 45, and then we'll pick up tomorrow on the other one. But this is the just continuation of um, the description and measuring of the temple itself. Chapter 41. Afterward he brought me to the temple and measured the post, 6 cubits broad on the one side and 6 cubits broad on the other side, which was the breadth of the tabernacle. And the breadth of the door was 10 cubits, and the sides of the door were 5 cubits on one side and 5 cubits on the other side. And he measured the length thereof 40 cubits, and the breadth 20 cubits. Then went he inward, and measured the post of the door 2 cubits, and the door 6 cubits, and the breadth of the door 7 cubits. So he measured the length thereof 20 cubits, and the breadth 20 cubits, before the temple. And he said unto me, This is the most holy place. And he measured the wall of the house 6 cubits, and the breadth of every side chamber 4 cubits, round about the house on every side. And the side chambers were 3, one over another, and 30 in order. And they entered into the wall which was of the house for the side chambers round about, that they might have hold, which means be supported, but not be fastened to. But they had not hold in the wall of the house. And there was an enlargement and a winding about still upward to the side chambers, for the winding about of the house went still upward round about the house. Therefore the breadth of the house was still upward, and so increased from the lowest chamber to the highest by the midst. I saw also the height of the house round about. The foundations of the side chambers were a full reed of 6 great cubits. The thickness of the wall, which was for the side chamber without or outside, was 5 cubits, and that was left was the place of the side chambers that were within. And between the chambers was the widest of 20 cubits, round about the house on every side. And the doors of the side chambers were toward the place that was left, one door toward the north, and another door toward the south. And the breadth of the place that was left was 5 cubits round about. Now the building that was before the separate place at the east toward the west was 70 cubits broad, and the wall of the building was 5 cubits thick round about, and the length thereof of 90 cubits. So he measured the house 100 cubits long, and the separate place, and the building with the walls thereof 100 cubits long. Also the breadth of the face of the house, and of the separate place toward the east, 100 cubits. And he measured the length of the building over against the separate place, which was behind it, and the galleries thereof on one side and on the other side, 100 cubits, with the inner temple and the porches of the court, the doorpost and the narrow windows, and the galleries round about on their 3 stories over against the door, ciseled with wood round about, and from the ground up to the windows, and the windows were covered. And the ciseled is shuttered. Shuttered? Yes. Beveled. Were paneled. They were paneled. To that above the door, even unto the inner house, and without, and by all the wall round about within and without by measure. And it was made with cherubims and palm trees, so that a palm tree was between a cherub, and every cherub had 2 faces, so that the face of a man was toward the palm tree on the one side, and the face of a young lion toward the palm tree on the other side. It was made through all the house round about. From the ground unto above the door were cherubims and palm trees made, and on the wall of the temple. And the posts of the temple were squared, and the face of the sanctuary, the appearance of the one as the appearance of the other. The altar of wood was 3 cubits high, and the length thereof 2 cubits, and the corners thereof, and the length thereof, and the walls thereof were of wood. And he said unto me, This is the table that is before the Lord. And the temple and the sanctuary had 2 doors. And the doors had 2 leaves apiece, 2 turning leaves, 2 leaves for one door, and 2 leaves for the other door. And there were made on them, on the doors of the temple, cherubims and palm trees, like as were made upon the walls. And there were thick planks upon the face of the porch, without or outside. And there were narrow windows and palm trees on the one side and on the other side, on the sides of the porch, and upon the sides of the house, and thick planks. Chapter 42. Then he brought me forth into the utter court, the way toward the north, and he brought me into the chamber that was over against the separate place, which was before the building toward the north. Before the length of 100 cubits was the north door, and the breadth was 50 cubits. Over against the 20 cubits which were on the inner court, and over against the pavement which was for the utter court, was gallery against gallery in 3 stories. And before the chambers was a walk of 10 cubits breadth inward, a way of 1 cubit, and their doors toward the north. Now the upper chambers were shorter, for the galleries were higher than these, than the lower, and then the middlemost of the building. For they were in 3 stories, but had not pillars as the pillars of the courts. Therefore the building was straitened more than the lowest and the middlemost from the ground. And the wall that was without over against the chambers toward the utter court, on the forepart of the chambers, the length thereof was 50 cubits. And the length of the chamber that were in the utter court was 50 cubits, and lo, before the temple were 100 cubits, and from under these chambers was the entry on the east side, as one goeth into them from the utter court. The chambers were in the thickness of the wall of the court toward the east, over against the separate place, and over against the building. And the way before them was like the appearance of the chambers which were toward the north, as long as they, and as broad as they. And all their goings out were both according to their fashions, and according to their doors. And according to the doors of the chamber that were toward the south was a door in the head of the way, even the way directly before the wall toward the east, as one entereth into them. Then said he unto me, The north chambers and the south chambers, which are before the separate place, they be holy chambers, where the priest that approach unto the Lord shall eat the most holy things. There shall they lay the most holy things, and the meat offering, and the sin of offering, and the trespass offering, for the place is holy. When the priest enter therein, then shall they not go out of the holy place into the utter court, but there they shall lay their garments, wherein they minister, for they are holy, and shall put on other garments, and shall approach to those things which are for the people. Now when he had made an end of measuring the inner house, he brought me toward he brought me forth toward the gate, whose prospect is toward the east, and measured it round about. He measured the east side within the measuring reed, 500 reeds, with the measuring reed round about. He measured the north side, 500 reeds, with the measuring reed round about. He measured the south side, 500 reeds, with the measuring reed. He turned about to the west side, and measured 500 reeds with the measuring reed. He measured it by the four sides. It had a wall round about, 500 reeds long, and 500 reeds broad, to make a separation between the sanctuary and the profane place. And the profane place is the common place. And that concludes chapter 41 and 42. And as always, I love you.